This is a New York made Welte Mignon grand piano. Serial number 71884. I have the front back here. This is the fall board. And this is the top that covers the spool box. And then this opens, or closes, I guess how you'd say it. Okay, so we rebuilt the roll motor. It's a five slider roll motor. Works great. When we got it, it was hitting the bottom board here. You can see all of the nicks where it had been hitting the bottom board, so we spaced it up so it wouldn't do that and click. It went click, 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 of course. The transmission's been cleaned up. The tubing is lead, so it didn't have to be moved, and so far we haven't detected any leaks in the lead tubing. It's very solid all the way around to the backside. This flange comes apart with 6 screws and takes 50 tubes to the back. The flange on this side also takes 50 tubes to the back, or close to 50 tubes to the back. There are 2 or 3 tubes that come up from the back side that don't go through this flange, and one of them is this large vacuum supply to the roll motor that goes through this system. These are the valves for the tracking, and the tracking pneumatic is way back in there. You see the purple? Yeah, you can see way back in there there's a purple bellows that's about 14 inches long, and it sits behind the spool box and opens and closes this direction on both ends. This is the on and off bellows. This is the electrical on-off switch and the bellows that turns the switch off. The tempo lever on the right operates the slide valve on the left here. This opens and closes also. The play rewind operates a pallet valve back in there. You see it slide off the 2 holes? And then we have controls up front. The on-off switch, of course. The Welte on-off. Welte turns expression on, and for 88 note rolls you turn that off and it switches the re-roll from hole number 10 on the treble end to hole number 2. Repeat, on, off, of course, is self-explanatory. Over here we have the Welte soft and normal, and it does soften it. It has a small bleed back here where the tube doesn't go anywhere. It's hard to see behind this wheel. Let's see, move that over there. Behind that wheel you can see there's a port that just doesn't go anywhere. The top port doesn't go anywhere. Normal, soft, and loud. The piano has all new strings. We did that 3 years ago when we first brought the piano home. We cleaned up the soundboard to uncover the soundboard decal. It's really big and full of graphics. New strings, new tuning pins. Very nice. A grass all the way from the base up to the center of the treble. Back here there's no aliquot. don't think we tied any strings in the treble. I can't remember. I should go back and see if that one, I don't think that there are any tied strings in the treble. Oh, there is, yes. The very last one is tied. Yeah, and I don't see any others that are tied. The ivory is original. I think I glued one back on. It's not in perfect condition, but it's still there. See some vertical splitting from humidity, where it spans the key and humps the front up and splits the front of the key. There's been some water damage made to the right end of the music desk. Otherwise, the piano's in really pretty condition. This is walnut. On the right arm, there's, so even this arm, when they put the veneer on, it sticks out and then catches, and so it's loose because over the years it catches and comes unglued underneath right there where it sticks out. On the right edge, right arm, it's the same way, only it caught too much and split out some of this right here. So I've glued that back down because it was sticking out quite a bit. And we'll see if we can't repair that little spot. The date stamped on the soundboard looks like a date anyway. It says Bullwind, 19 May 1928. Again, the serial number 71884. In the 9th edition of the Pierce Piano Atlas, it shows the Welte Mignon Corp. Let's see, there were 3 serial numbers only showing in the Welte M & Son section. 1930 equals 75,000 and 1924 is 72,000. We're 72 and the date on the soundboard says 1928. In the 11th edition, I don't think it says any different. We can look real quick. Welte shows the same information up there. Then we have the 2017 edition. There's a lot of history. Let's see if there's anything on the previous page. Nope, it's Welmar. Okay, so a lot of history. And still no serial numbers. Well, they said compare to the Wurlitzer numbers here, which look similar to what were on the other page, except that they might have added a couple. Then, as we began the rebuild, I made this map of some of the tubing we took apart and have added to it since then using Craig Brower's original map, which is similar. In his diagram, the expressions, where's the other one? That's the treble expression. Where's the bass expression? Oh, back here. Bass expression is just right there. In his diagram, this vacuum chamber doesn't exist. There's just the valve screws, adjustment screws, and the mini bellows. On the treble, same thing. Only here we have these two sections, but this section doesn't exist in his drawings. And what it appeared to be is just a vacuum chamber. And so they have teed off of this port and that port for supply, and I'll show you that. I'll show you that later when the piano is tilted up. The pedals were pretty similar. On the bass end, we have 8 turns on and 7 turns off. On the treble end, tracker bar, port 8 turns on and 7 turns off. And we have a sustained dump. I can't remember if that's the same in his, but it could be. There's a little square sponge, 1-inch sponge bellows that opens and dumps more quickly dumps the sustain. The soft pedal is just a simple valve to the soft pedal, which isn't used very often. In Craig's diagram, right next to the pump, they have the auto exhaust, and then the gate box or the cutoff is mounted on top of the auto exhaust. And that's not the case in this piano. The only thing there is the auto exhaust with a dump leaf. You know, if it gets too much pressure, that opens a little bit because the bellows closes under the vacuum, and if there's extreme vacuum, it closes all the way, and the more it closes, gets close to closing all the way, it starts opening this little leaf right here. These are just supply ports. There's no valves on them. One goes directly to the roll motor up front, right here, right there. One goes to this sustained pedal dump, and one goes to the pressure regulator, which tees off and goes to the valves, and also goes to the gate. There's just a block, you know, just a block where that, but then of course the pressure regulator regulates the amount that goes to this block. Then the gate also has a main line to the pump through the auto exhaust. And then this is teed, both sides open on the play rewind slider palette. And this guy, let's see, can I remember where that goes? I'll finish drawing this up and we'll have it all labeled soon. But you can see the expression system, how it's laid out in Craig's drawing. This trunk of wood is hollow, and the supply vacuum goes into the end of it. In our case, the supply vacuum goes to the gate and then goes through the block of the bellows, because the trunk is a solid piece of wood. There is no hollow areas in the trunk. These just screw to the trunk. This is a sponge bellows. This is a little 1-inch sponge bellow. They're square and they have a spring in it. And all they do is pull away from the back of the bellows to release the vacuum. They're little sponge bellows. Here's one, here's one, here's one, here's one. There's 2 behind the stack. I'm trying to think if there's another one. Sponge bellows on top of the sustain dump, yes. If I can think of another one, I'll show you, but that's looks like about it. These valves And let me think. The valves in here, and the valves in the valve block behind the sustain electric switch, or not sustain, but repeat, rewind, and electric switch are all like auto piano or standard valves. They're on a stem. Only in the stack, there's a double set of valves with primaries and then valves with the metal valve plate. These down here don't have the primary. They're just a stem with the metal plate. The pressure regulator, I'm new at the Welte, and I'm not understanding how it operates yet, but I'm learning every day, and it's just fun to learn new things. Okay, next thing we did was we created a tubing chart. This is very rudimentary, a tubing chart of the front end. The spool box, I opened up the flanges so I could see what was underneath in there. There's a large tube that goes from this flange, 6 rows, and most of these are 5 rows. There's 10 rows of 5 holes. The back row is 6, and that large one doesn't really, only goes to the supply tubing for the tracker bar. Those diagrams, let me see, hang on. Yeah, so here are the, let's see, these are the flanges. These flanges down here. This is treble and the other one on the bass. These are the flanges. So the treble is turned up because this is the top side going to the head of the piano, the spool box. And the bass is turned up, showing you the hole on the wrong side, if you can imagine. This is the bottom of the bottom flange, and this is the top flange turned over, so I could see, because I checked to make sure all the holes were open, checked to make sure where they went, and it gives me enough information. And then what we did was we did a more specific, let's see, this is the same thing, only the bass is turned the right direction so you can see where it goes to the back. Welte vacuum supply. And then expression 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and it shows which port they are in the tracker bar. These are just notes, 1 through 40. Notes 1 through 40 in the treble. And the back of the treble flange is the same way. You can see expression 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Our tracker bar holes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then 7 and 8 are sustain on and off. Hole number 2 is also used for rewind for the 88 note rolls when the Welte expression is turned off.